Well, as you probably got from the summary of the book, the role of innovation cannot be overestimated. In and out of itself, innovation doesn't do much. Because, as we have seen, inventions and the formation of new technologies need to be put into a larger context. You can have incredible technology that is incredibly useful and would incredibly increase your productivity, but if people don't know how to use the technology, if existing systems don't know how to use that technology, as we have seen in firms, for example, when outsiders come in and say, here's how you need to do things, if it's not part of the DNA of people, of an organization, you can't just force innovation onto systems, and that can be firms, that can be households, that can be individuals, and so forth. All of those who have tried to explain computers to their grandparents or maybe even parents or cell phones probably know what I'm talking about. But you also probably know that once they realize that this is the way to talk to their children, or to get pictures from their grandchildren, all of a sudden technology becomes accessible because people are willing to invest in learning it and making it part of their everyday activity. So in that sense, innovation is critical because in the terminology of evolutionary theory, what it does, it widens the opportunity space. It provides new possibilities, or possibility space is the actual correct term, possibilities that didn't exist before. Whether we take up those possibilities or not is an agency problem. That is something that humans have to do, or individuals have to do, or not. And it's not just individuals who are part of this agency issue. It is also firms, whether they're able to use new productivity innovations, new manufacturing innovations, or not. But you can take that to an even higher level, to the state level, for example, whether entire countries as a whole are able to integrate those innovations, those new possibilities into the way they run their country, their affairs. In terms of education, what do you teach children? How do you teach them? That is a critical part of how innovations become part of an entire state system, for example. So innovation is critical, absolutely critical, but only in the sense that it widens the the ranges of possibilities. Agency is critical for picking up those possibilities. So innovation in itself doesn't do anything. It is what we make out of it, or whether we grasp those opportunities or not. And maybe one additional thing, it is also a question of whether we are able to use those opportunities or not. One of the questions that I'll often come up with innovation is leapfrogging, for example, a possibility. So those often quoted examples of Indian or African farmers who can now use their cell phones to tap into price indices that previously were only available to wholesalers in the city, so they know the actual price of their fish or whatever commodity it is that they produce. That is one thing, but you need, first of all, the mobile phone infrastructure. You need to have the ability of people to read that information, to make sense of that information. So one important thing to realize about innovation is that it doesn't come in isolation. Innovation is an evolutionary process. It builds upon existing ways of doing things. It improves them. It provides new possibilities, but it doesn't happen in isolation. It provides new solutions to old problems. How do I get from A to B? How do I grow something? How do I produce something? How can I kill somebody? Those are the age-old issues that we tend to innovate in answering. So we find new possibilities of doing just that, and by doing that in a novel way, we often find it ways to make our individual activity much more productive, which usually gives it an edge over others. So it is still important to remember, though, that we can only pick up opportunities in the context in which we are able to pick it up. Meaning that if I can't read, major innovations in information and computer technology doesn't really help me that much. On the other hand, if some people come up with an innovation that doesn't require me to have the ability to read, for example, in a certain language. You have 1 billion people in China, not many of who are able to read and write in English. So if China finds a way to make more and more information accessible, as they do, in a form that is accessible to their citizens, then all of a sudden those possibilities are accessible to the Chinese. If it's just in English, because the vast majority of, say, internet information is available still in English only, that means that it leaves out all of those non-English speaking people, which is why I am speaking to you in English and not in Spanish. It is a new lingua franca. In order to tap into those innovations, in order to tap into those new possibilities, we have to learn something, or we have to adapt to existing structures. English as a dominant interface to access that kind of information, those kind of processes. So in that sense, innovation is always part of a pre-existing system, and it builds on those systems. Whether you are able to connect those two is where innovation becomes really fruitful or not. So we all know the differences between disruptive innovations and evolving innovations, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Disruptive doesn't mean that it takes that it's entirely new, that you have to learn an entirely new language, for example. Those innovations tend to be really incredibly important in terms of productivity, but usually are not the ones that have an immediate impact.